Hey guys, it's Vadiazo back again with another Future Card Buddy Fight unboxing video. Or I guess my first Future Card on Buddy Fight unboxing video. So, this is about Dragon World, I guess, Draknight, aka the trial deck that came out a while ago, and I never bought because I never really cared about it. But there are cards in it that I do want, so I probably won't ever use this deck, but if I do, no, that's probably not out of choice, or it's just that I'm too tired to pick a deck. So anyways, I will put somewhere on the screen the deck, and let's get started. So first off, we got our flag that I pulled a 1 out of 6 chance of getting, I think. The Dragon World Special Foiled Flag, where it comes with a Luminized chain and everything, which is, I'm now gonna say, if I can read it. Here comes the Paragon Dragon of the Night's Way, Luminize, Draknight! AKA, this whole point of the deck is based on nightly dragons, or at least Garga is. Speaking of Garga, Awakened Deity, Gargantua Night Dragon. Okay, 7k power, 3k defense, a critical of 2, size 2, the buddy monster of this deck, by the way. It has double attack, soul guard, and the Drag God ability. So, in this series, they decided to add Drag God as an ability instead of a keyword instead of just like a normal thing that happens, or one of the two. So, basically, any card that has the name a Drag God, that means you can use it in any flag, regardless of the world it originally comes from. In Garga's case, that's anything. In another deck that I do have, that could actually matter a lot. So then, call cost. Pay a gauge and put the top card of your deck into its soul. And then G-Boost base, the whole point of this card's deck. So, at the start of your battle phase, if this card's on the field, everything on your field gets plus 10k power. Then if you have all DD Dragon Tribes on your field get plus 10k power. Then if you have another DD Dragon Tribe on your field, all cards on your field get plus 1 critical. That includes this thing. So you have a size 1 with 2 crit, this thing with 1 crit. Actually, there's a size 1 with 1 crit, this thing with 2 crit, and then an item with 2 crit. Start of the battle phase, everything gets plus 10k and another 2 critical, and that size 1 does have an ability where it gets another crit. So essentially, you got a lot of crit going on, and that's going to be one heck of a time for your opponent. There are other G-Boosts, though, such as G-Boost Craft, I think there is, and then there's also G-Boost Will. So starting off at 2 copies of Evolution Blaze Garflame Dragon, our only size 3, and yet in my test battles with this thing has been amazingly useful, so I might actually keep this around if I ever decide to use this deck seriously. Because it actually did become useful a few times. 6k power, 6k defense, a critical of 2. Pay 2 gauge to call it when it's placed, destroy a monster on the field, but counter, call its card from your hand by paying its card cost. So essentially, call it during your opponent's turn, nuke an attack, and just wait for the troubles to roll in. Because I remember I stopped a Horus deck with this when I was testing this deck out, and then I was like, if I ever decide to use this deck, I'll keep that around, because that actually saved me a few times, because I would have lost if I didn't do that. Okay, 4 copies of our buddy Awakened Deity Gargantua Dragon Knight. Oh, Gargantua Night Dragon, sorry. I do love its art, though. That looks really cool to me. 2 copies of the evolved Laufin Guard Dragon, if you remember what that thing was. Awakened Deity Dragon, Laufin Guard Dragon. I'm never going to say that phrase again. I'm just going to say whatever the actual name is. 6k power, 2k defense, a critical of 2. So just like Garga, he has evolved, and that, aura there, that I really like that. But you guys can't see it because it appears black and white on your screen. Pay a gauge and put the top card deck into soul to call it. So it's actually already better than the other one, because one now has soul guard, it also has move still. And then when it is destroyed, get a gauge and a life. So it's 2 gauge and 2 life that you can get in total from it on its own. And that makes it really useful. And once more, it saved me against the Horus deck. 1 copy of Lance Guard Dragon that after this deck profile, I'm getting it out of this deck and teching it into my Draw Ultimate. 6k power, 1k defense, a critical of 1. You should all know what this does since I made 3 different deck profiles showing it. Maybe even 4, but I don't care. I'm going to read its effect anyways to finish this. Call cost, put a card from your drop zone to its soul and pay a gauge. So if it's the first card you're going to call, and you have no cards in your drop zone, you can't do that, I'm sorry. If a Dragon monster is on your field, this card is size reduced to 1, so it essentially becomes a size 1. All Dragons on your field get penetrated, and they cannot be rested by your opponent's card effect, so you can't stop their multi-attacks. And then it has triple attack and Soul Guard. Not to mention that Garga gets penetrated, and since they're going to be stacking a lot of crit, that can be very useful. 4 copies of our last size 2. Awakened Deity Dragon, Deegan, and Gardra. So I don't really like this card because it's kind of like the better version of Deegan Gardra, but one, I don't like its new art. It does not look cool to me in the slightest, and it also is a size 2, and you're more likely going to have Garga on your field, so yeah, that's kind of a problem. 5k power, 1k defense, a critical of 2. When this card attacks for the turn, a DD Dragon type on your field gets plus 3k power. Plus 5k. Yeah, that's useful, never mind. It has double attack too, so you can boost it, but it's not too useful because you have to wait till after to give power, so if you need to link attack, it's kind of a waste. Whatever, that's fine. Onto our size 1s. 2 copies of Awakened Deity Dragon, Dolce Gardra. 5k power, 1k defense, a critical of 2. Call cost, pay gauge. Oh, I never knew it had call cost. Whatever. When this card attacks, if its power is 10,000 or greater, destroy everything on your opponent. Destroy all monsters on your opponent's field. So, if you have Garga on your field and then attack with this thing, one attack will wipe out everything on their field, and they will regret it. They will regret calling a field. So with this deck, it's either attack them with everything you've got, or just don't. 2 copies of Awakened Deity Dragon Mount Gardra, who I was talking about when I was explaining Garga's skill. 5k power, 1 critical, 1k defense. When this card attacks, if its power is 10k or more, it gets plus 2 crit. So plus Garga, that's a total of plus 3 crit. So 4 critical in total from one card, and it does have penetrate. So a very, very, very powerful size 1. 2 copies of Garcat. Another card that after this deck profile, I'm going to tech into another deck. I don't know which one yet. Probably Hydra Ultimate, but I'm going to tech it into something else. 5k power, 1 critical, 1k defense. When this card enters the field, if you have another DD Dragon Tribe on your field, your item does count. You get to charge a gauge and draw one. So it can be very useful, help you get gauge, help you get draw. I do know that one problem that I do get in this deck is I rarely draw Garga, and I do have some gauge problems sometimes. It's either I draw into Garga and I have gauge problems, or I don't draw into Garga and then I have perfect gauge, essentially. It's one of the two. And it's weird, because Garga doesn't even cost that much gauge. 2, and then finally, our last monster, Awakened Deity Dragon Gargazel. 2k power, 1 crit, 1k defense. When this card enters the field, it's also size 0 by the way. When it enters the field, for this turn, a Deity Dragon Tribe on your field, it can be this one, it can be something else, gets plus 5k power. So that's really useful because all of your cards that need to meet a requirement of power stacking, or like 10k power, that does help. Well, the 5k boost of all these cards do help because essentially it's an artificial Garga. And most of them do have a 5k base anyway, so it's a kind of like we'll call one and get the rest off. Now on to our spells. Boost on. My favorite art in this game, besides Garsagan, and frankly, one of my favorite cards besides Garsagan. You may only cast this card if you have a DD Dragon Tribe on your field. It's once per turn. Either gain 4 gauge, either gain 3 gauge or gain 3 life. So it's kind of like Gar Highland. If you don't know what that does, essentially, get rid of a DD Dragon Tribe on your field of any type, and then you either gain 4 gauge and gain 4 life. It's a counter that is not once per turn. So it's kind of better, it's kind of worse. It's your preference, really. Garlit. For this turn, all DD Dragon Tribe on your field get plus 10k power. So this is essentially Artificial Garga. 2 copies. 1 copy of Dragon Shine. Another card that I am teching into another deck for many reasons. Pay a life. This can only choose one of the following 2. It can only be used once per turn. Either put up to 1 DD Dragon Tribe item from your deck into your hand, then shuffle, or put up to 2 DD Dragon Tribe monsters with different names from your drop zone into your hand. Out of Gargas in your deck, and you want a Garcat too, put a Garga from your drop zone, put a Garcat from your drop zone, and back to your hand, or just search your deck for an item if that's what you're missing. And all it costs is 1 life. Unfortunately, this deck only gives you 1. But at the same time, it also gives you 1 of Gar Oracle, another card that I'm going to tech into another deck. So, if you have a DD Dragon Tribe on your field, that's when you can cast this. Pay a gauge, draw 2, and then if you have a drag on your field, gain 2 life. Can be very useful. I do like this art, and I would probably take that into another deck. DD Purple Dragon Shield I am keeping in this deck. You may only cast this card during attack on the opponent's turn, and if you have a monster, and if there are no monsters on your center, and you have a DD Dragon Tribe on your field. So nullify the attack, gain a gauge and a life, then if you have a drag on your field, you get to draw 1. So it's kind of like, what's that shield in Thunder Empire that does that? I don't remember what that shield is in Thunder Empire. I'm drawing a complete blank, but... Oh, Jupiter Barrier. That's what it is. It's like that thing. 4 copies of DD Green Dragon Shield. If you don't know what this does, because once more, like Lance, I've gone over this 4 times. It is, you may only cast this... It's like the same thing with DD Purple, but instead of gaining 1 life, you gain 3 life, and you don't have to have a drag on your field. You just have to have a DD Dragon Tribe. Finally, Loud Voice. Our last spell. 2 copies. Drop a hand card. We'll drop any number of hand cards that you want. Counter. For this turn, all cards on your opponent's field lose 3k power, 3k defense, and 1 crit for each card discarded for this thing's cast cost. So that can be very useful. Say you discard 2, everything loses 6k power, defense, and 2 critical. I use that to survival a dragon attack, and if I didn't, they would have killed me with their impact if I happened to live through all their attacks, which wouldn't have happened, by the way. Finally, 4 copies of DD Dragon Beam Sword, Draknight Saber, 5k power, 2 critical. Pay a gauge. When this card attacks, you gain a life. Then if its power is 10k or more, draw a card. It's really useful because you can continuously gain life, and if you do have that extra power, you do get to draw 1. It also looks cool because it looks like it has wings. 1 copy of DD Dragon Sword, Garchris, aka another card I'm going to tech out and probably get more copies of. 5k power, 2 critical, pay a gauge and a life. If you have a drag on your field, this card and all of your dragons on your field get plus 4k power, and they cannot be destroyed and their abilities cannot be nullified by your opponent's card effects. So it becomes a 9k base, and then your dragons become like 11k bases. My problem with this, it also protects your dragons from effect destruction, but it doesn't give power to anything else, which this deck does need. Like if it was just having a dragon on the field, that would be useful, but yeah, it's not. So it kind of hurts you. But it is useful if you just need extra power to get over stuff. If it's just 4k. Extra power, that is. And then finally, 2 copies of our last item, DD Dragon Beamblade Draknight Dagger. 4k power, 1 critical. When this card attacks, if its power is 10k or greater for this turn, it gets double attack. This can only be used once per turn. So clearly this ability clearly it only has 1 crit because it's meant to like be used with Garga, just so you can get like the 2 crit off and it wouldn't be too broken like Mount is with 4 critical. But whatever, we can just overlook that. And then our final card, Impact Dragon Strike. 4 copies of it, to be exact. So you may only cast this card if your opponent's at 4 life or less. There are no monsters on your opponent's center, so you can have a center if you want to. And you've used G-Boost during this turn. Pay 2 gauge. Deal 4 damage to your opponent. That's all it says. It does look really cool, though, because it kind of looks like Yuga's trying to do his dad's X-Tempest Ulti Buster, but better, to be honest. And then we have our beautiful life counter that was Yuga and Draknight Dragon. We do have our Buddy Fight Ace informative mat here, which tells you how to play, and it does have a cool manga of Yuga and Rama buddy fighting for the first time. And then finally, I'm just going to back my camera up a bit here so you guys can see this. We have our playmat of our regular standard thing, gauge, zone, left, right, and center positions, flag and item, drop zone, deck, and the top part for I don't know what, where I put my life counter. And then finally, we have the back, which is, so tells you about the deck, tells you about the character who uses the deck, tell you how to soup it up, and then, yeah, and then tell you how to use it in its defensive and aggressive formation, and how to finish with it. So, that was the deck. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to raise your flag. Can you pull a Buddy Rare card?